This week on Dig Me Out. With your hosts, Jason Diaz and Tim Minichi.
Jay, we're back again with another episode thanks to our Dig Me Out Union on Patreon. You can help us make the next episode happen by joining us at dmounion.com or digmeoutunion.com. And Jay, were you doing you like sing song? Was I sing songy?
I'm orchestrating you like a puppet.
Okay, thank you.
Like pro.
This is a patron selected
You're kidding
episode, Jay. Yes.
Is that why Whitney's here?
That's why Whitney Beeler has returned. Welcome back, Whitney.
Hello.
You might remember Whitney from such picks as Death Ray's self-titled record, Shades Apart Eyewitness, Dada's American Highway Flower, Caviar's self-titled, Human Radio's self-titled, and the Tories' Wonderful. You might have the most self-titled records. This is now the fourth.
It's my goal.
Human Radio, Caviar, Death Ray, all self-titled. I'm sensing a trend. A trend.
It's intentional.
And this one as well. So, without further ado, perhaps you should share with the audience your pick for this episode.
Self-titled album by Wünderband, 1997.
Wünderband.
I wasn't going to say it. I was going to let you do it first.
Thank you. It's so fun to say.
If you want to Google this band or find them on YouTube or Spotify, you need to use the umlaut and the U.
I found that the way the best way is Wünderband album 1997. That's how you narrow that search down.
Yeah.
And you'll get 3 hits. Because there's not a lot about this band on the internet. This is a one and done band.
It's one of these bands that you wonder if they had their internet future in mind when they named their band. It's like
it actually helped using the U and the umlaut.
Yeah,
if it was an O.
I need to know how the heck you found this band, because they self-released this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just listen to stuff. One thing leads to another, and I don't know how I heard it. It's so boring. I come on here and I tell you, I don't have these great stories like Chip, like, I was out like hanging out with some bands, and I don't have any of those stories. I just,
I'm on
the lookout. Honestly, I don't even remember. I can't tell you.
Was it in the 90s or was it?
No, I found it a few years. I found it, like probably mid 2000s, because I was in that. There was that power pop kind of craziness going on in the early aughts, and I found it there, by way of some other band. I think, I don't know.
Now I get the sense there's good like sharing and trading amongst power pop fans.
There is, because there's not many of us.
Right.
No.
That's one of the positive things the internet has brought. It's brought a lot of negative.
Yeah.
But one of the positive things is communities of music fans are able to find each other. Now, I do have to ask, have you tracked down the Mega Demo 3000 that Wünderband released?
No.
Through mp3.com.
Oh my goodness.
No, I have not.
It has 4 songs that are not on the album.
mp3.com.
Yeah, if you go to the discogs.com and go to their page, the cover is it's like a generic mp3.com cover. It is hilarious. I will throw this in the chat so you guys can see this.
Cool. I do have an mp3.com CD by Millard Powers, the guy that played for the Semantics, which brings a couple of dollars these days, I think. But let me see this.
So I don't have a ton of history to share because, quite frankly, I have no idea what the heck the history of this band is. All I can tell you is that this album was released by them in 1997. It is on vocals Derek Aries,
think so.
Kyle Kelso and Robert Finelli. And Robert also plays bass. Derek plays drums. Kyle plays guitar. It looks like they made the whole record themselves. Like they're the producers. Kyle mixed it and mastered it. Like they didn't even go anywhere to get anything done.
The drummer did the artwork.
The drummer did the art. This is about as self-released as you can get.
Okay,
I
so
mean, unless they artisanally pressed each CD.
Okay, so to defend my choice a little bit and
No,
not
you don't have to defend it.
like,
I'm just saying this is wild that you even.
I don't
want
want to act like I'm looking for the most obscure band of all time. It's just, I will say that the guy who's the guy that is Kyle Kelso. I did see like on All Music because there was a review for this album on All Music, and he did do some engineering for Afghan Wigs, and Greg, I can't ever. Is it Dully? It's Dully, right?
It's Dooley.
Dooley, god damn.
Like duly noted.
Okay, so Dooley, and then he mixed a Breaking Benjamin album or something, I guess.
Huh.
But that's all the data I have. Other than the drummer looks like Larry Fine or the Three Stooges. So other than that, that's all I got.
Okay.
Let me see that packaging. Describe what we got here.
Okay, I'll
Traditional tool
try.
case
I'll
and-
try. See, it's okay. Let me see if I can do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the album cover.
So you've seen that. Okay. So here's the CD itself. It looks
Okay,
Is
pretty
it a
good.
CDR or an actual CD?
No, it's an actual CD. It's
Okay.
on something called Scenester Records.
Yeah, they made that up.
Okay, they made it up.
Yeah.
And then it's got the lyrics in here with picture of somebody.
Pictures of
who's-
the bands on the inside.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is, and there's Larry Fine on drums right there.
Yeah.
And then that's not nice. Maybe someday somehow this guy will see this and he'll think I called him a stooge. And then there's this dude on bass. I don't remember their names already.
Is
but,
it just a fold or is it have multiple flaps?
just a fold?
Yep. That's the.
And there's the back, which looks absolutely ungodly horrible. I don't even know what
so
to
it's
make
like
of
a
that.
bad photo with type over top that you can't read.
Yeah, pretty much.
So in
I can't read it.
1997, Jay, what program did they use to make this? Is Microsoft Paint?
No. Cork Express.
Cork Express.
And I know that when you go into that template for I'm trying to remember the CD service that was big then, but that was one of the cheaper templates you could use, which we used for ourselves. The one
Well,
fold.
yeah, and 2 years later
plastic
we were
case.
using it, or
Yeah.
3 years later.
I like that you guys admitted to using that. That's
Oh
cool.
yeah,
Oh,
black and white on the inside.
Yep.
You know, it
You
was a
get
nice-
color on the outside flaps, black and white on the inside,
Yep.
color
Yeah.
on the back, color on the front.
Two
I
silk
thought it was
screen
a reasonable
colors on the
effort, though.
disc.
I mean, for
Yeah,
what it is, I mean, they did nice except for the back. Oh, not that, but the inside.
the front cover's not terrible.
No, it's a little blurry or something, but whatever.
Yeah, it's a bad.
There's only
photo, but
one
they-
for
they did
sale,
their
and it's
best.
in Canada. I don't think I'll be picking it up. The shipping costs twice the CD.
I didn't say it was going to be worth anything, but
Well, I like to get the CDs or the albums that we review.
Mhm.
Oh, did you contribute to the Discogs entry? It says Wit's Brain.
yeah, I think I did actually. I think I put some info because there wasn't exactly a lot of it on there.
I'm adding you
Or
as a
in there.
friend on Discogs. I didn't even know you were on there.
Oh yeah, didn't I friend you on Discogs? I
Are
think
we
I did.
friends?
I think we are. I friended you. You probably didn't friend me because
Oh, no.
you're all big time podcast and stuff. Sorry.
You're one of those.
I
you're
don't
one of
talk
those
to you guys face to
Discogs
face and I'll
editors.
pick on you.
Wow, you got some power there.
I
Nice.
don't know.
So that we basically covered everything we can about the history of this band because we quite frequently don't really know a whole lot. Let's talk about our patrons and what they had to say.
Not a lot.
Some folks had some Willie Doan said pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Gavin said better EP, as while I didn't mind the album, there was nothing to offend. There was nothing to offend, but also nothing to embrace. So while no actual track selection, I kind of half liked all of it. And Rich Dodgen said, I'm rating this a better EP. There are definitely some great tracks here, but a few just sound way too clunky. Circle and Fall and Hint of Jealousy, for example, both sound like they were written and performed by a bunch of 12-year-old school kids.
Ouch.
I get that maybe the high school sort of vibe is what the band was going for, but for me, those songs and their lyrics in particular just grated. Okay.
That's cool. I've admitted many times never to be much of a lyrics guy. So Rich Dodgen, is that how you say it?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was kind of shocked on Discord today when the Patreon post only had like 3 comments and 7 votes. I'm like, that's not out of the ordinary.
Yeah, this is you got to dig deep for this one.
Right. Exactly.
But a couple folks listen to it.
Yep. We
Yeah, see, this is
us too. We listen to it.
Well, see, yeah, this is the power pop thing, you guys, right? So, I was thinking this year I was going to pick like Shiner or something grungy or heavy, and then I was thinking about it and thinking, nah, that gets covered already. So I was like, I like bringing up albums that most people haven't heard, and I'm betting no one heard this one before. And people don't like gravitate to power pop, but even though they actually kind of like it way more than they admit, because like it's catchy and it's like commercials, everybody when they write jingles for commercials, they're catchy, right? Not too many sound like, Shudder to Think or like Ministry or something, right? That's for a reason, because they're trying to catch you, they're trying to catch your ear with a hook,
tell me. We've been walking around the house singing that Burger King chicken sandwich for the last week.
What?
That they show it on every NFL game commercial like 8 times. It's basically just goes chicken, 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 chicken.
So
we just walk around the house saying that.
That must be a Texas commercial break and not an Ohio commercial break.
No,
because I haven't heard it.
Burger King chicken sandwich.
Oh no, I've seen it.
I also watched the Bills game on mute in a tiny corner of my computer, so I could do something else while I vomit while watching them lose. But let's move past that and let's get into this record, Jade. Tell me one thing you liked about the self-titled album by Wünderband.
Well, we covered a bit. I mean, this is what I would consider a power pop record. It's got the melodies and the harmonies that you would expect. I think what's interesting though is it walks a line between, I think, doing that really well. It kind of has a Fountains of Wayne songwriting style to me. Some of the melodies are reminiscent of that band as well, but there's some unexpected moments or juxtapositions of the vocals with some drum and guitar parts that I thought was, to me, the part I like the most. So from a drum standpoint, when the record starts off with the first track, is it called Hey Hey? Yes, Hey Hey. I love the drums in that because it is not what you would expect from this kind of band. It's kind of a halftime. It's got a little bit of a stutter to it almost. It's not like a driving or swinging, power pop rhythm. It's almost a little math rocky or post hardcore or something. And it allows for these dynamics to happen throughout that song that are interesting, where they cut out and the guitars can be a little bit staccato, and then they can switch to regular time in the chorus. And it just gave it this dynamic of like, oh, this is not what I would expect from a fairly straightforward power pop record.
Yes, yes.
The guitar riff in Mayqueen, like the opening riff of that song, it's a little darker. It's not like big, kind of melodic chords. It's not chimey. It's maybe again like something you would hear in like a heavier band. And then when they put the vocal over top, it has this interesting contrast between that. And then when you get to the chorus, it gets a little, it gets brighter, but there's still that moment of that sound in the beginning part of that song and through the verse doesn't really sound like anybody I've heard before. 16 has this noisy guitar break in the middle. that almost gets to like a shoegaze kind of place. Again, it's maybe not as clean or as crisp as you would expect this band to stay. It goes a little bit off script there. And then Rosenbloom is a song where it's has like a lounge feel, but not in a kind of kitschy way. Like it feels genuine, like a just a way to do kind of a quieter song, but it has like this little bit of percussion and the way the drums are kind of treated and the bass line. It just has a verse that's again not necessarily what I would expect from a it kind of pulls the power out of the pop and it just puts it in this more like I don't know, maybe a crowded house kind of feel. So again, that was another unexpected juxtaposition between this kind of like vocal style and sense of melody and just musically what's going on. And the last thing I'll note is just shout out to the bass player on this. It's just one of those I think records where melodically the bass is doing a ton. I really found myself repeated listens paying attention more to the bass line and to the vocal and kind of like letting the guitars fade out, kind of not be the center of attention for me. And I was kind of struck by it, just how important the bass melody and the vocal melody and how they tie together and kind of make some of these songs really, really hooky and work really well. So that's what I liked. How about you, Tim?
Well, we've talked in the past about what you needed to get a hit single, like in the second half of the 90s. You had to have like not just a hook, but there had to be some sort of like really catchy, thought-provoking in a pop culture kind of way hook. And the opening track, Yes, Yes, Hey, Hey, that should have been a big hit. That
Yeah.
line of looks like the girl who sang Until Tuesday. That is
Yeah.
so, I mean,
It's
so
like the girl who
catchy
sang
and-
for Till Tuesday. Is that? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's such a fun song. That I think I listened to it and I go, why wasn't this on at least like some sort of label that could have
Yeah.
gotten this to college radio and gotten them promotion and stuff like that? Because it's so catchy, such a good hook, and it's a well-constructed song too in 2.5 minutes. And you mentioned like the drummer and the bass player have a really nice combination in terms of not just playing a straight 4/4 beat all the time. It's a lot of choppiness in a good way, and it's a lot of fun. And that's the overall vibe of a lot of the record is this sort of somewhere between like Cheap Trick, but not as bombastic that Cheap Trick can be in certain ways. But like you meant that Mayqueen riff, I mean, that if you speed that up, that's a Rick Nielsen riff to like, Hello There or something.
Yeah. He writes like darker, edgier riffs than what you would typically find in a sort of just a straight kind of Beatles influenced power pop band.
Yep. And it's throughout this whole record is just, usually 2.5 to 3 minutes of just really catchy hooks. I remember, from the first time through, I was remembering melodies and lines, and that's a good sign when that happens, because the worst thing that can happen with a power pop band is not landing the hook. I mean, that's why you're there. And they've got a lot of good harmonies, and it's interesting that it looks like there's primarily 2 singers kind of back and forth, and then the drummer kind of sings backup is what I'm seeing. Because it's almost, they almost get, I think they have the record is like one then the other, then one then the other, then one then the other. I don't think any of them have 2 songs in a row, which I didn't always pick that up. I mean, I could hear differences in the voices, but if I just had to pick it out by like who was singing at the time, I don't know that I would necessarily picked out which ones were whose. But that's good that I mean, that's tough to have 2 talented songwriters in a band and get all the ideas out Yeah, this was just, it's a fun record. Sounds good. They did a good job producing it themselves because it sounds good. The guitars sound have a, you know, they're not thin, they're not over the top, they're not, there's no like sometimes when you do guitars on your own and mix on your own, it doesn't always, you think it sounds good, but then when you actually, you know, deal with all the compression and the mixing and the
Yeah.
mastering, you're like, hey, where did that go? Where was that thing,
Yeah.
that magic that we had?
Mhm.
So props to them for a good sounding record.
Mayqueen, the prettiest girl that I've ever seen. Maybe she's gonna see something in me. Mayqueen, waving her hands, I shouted out loud. Mayqueen, can you pull me out of the crowd? Mayqueen, the prettiest girl that I've ever seen. Maybe she's gonna see something in me. May she always be happy. May covered in flowers, petals all over the ones that it grew.
So Whitney, you brought this to us.
Yeah.
What works best for you that you wanted to showcase this record?
You know, I mean, just that it's an album that's like, you know, it fits my ear, right? It's really catchy and it's quirky, and to what Jay was saying about a power pop, it gets categorized, I'm sure, as a power pop. The guy on allmusic.com that did the one review I found for it said it was a power pop band, but there's something else going on there, right? It's a lot quirkier. It's a lot like Yes Yes Hey Hey, really goofy song, but really cool arrangement. It's got some like chirpy, weird guitars in there that just catch your ear. And I'm walking around, since I've been really listening to this a lot because I knew I'd be picking it for you guys to listen to. God, these songs, they keep jumping into my head, and I'm singing them going around the house, and I'm making up lyrics to them, you know, for some, you know, just stupid shit like that. Um, there's some really goofy chords on like Mayqueen that I just really like. 16, I'm not sure what the lyrics mean. I love the guitar in that. I'm not sure what the lyrics mean. It sounds a little like Winger 17 almost, but I looked at the lyrics and I can't figure them out, so I don't know what that song is about. But I love Wall of Dishes, even though I don't know what a wall of dishes is. That's probably my favorite song in the album. It's got a great guitar solo in it. It's like it's two guitars playing the same solo part. It's just
Yeah.
terrific. Circle and Fall, as I think one of the people in Patreon mentioned, that song is not good. That is the only song in this album that I do not like. Lunchroom Blues reminds me of Soul Asylum doing a ballad. Another guy, the lead-in sounds like Rick Nielsen, sounds like something that could have been on Dream Police. It chills out after the intro, but I think that's a really good song. Hint of Jealousy, that's got a definite Rivers Cuomo vibe. I'm thinking it would have fit on Pinkerton somewhere. I know that's going to be controversial, but whatever. To the three people that are watching this. And Special is a really strange closer. It feels like a song I would have placed further up in the album just to chill things out after the first few songs. There are parts of this to me that sound like Limb Lifter, which you guys covered not too long ago. But you know, Wünderband finds the hooks, and maybe they're intentionally writing them, and maybe Limb Lifter didn't. Maybe they were choosing not to write catchy choruses. You know what I mean? But there's quirkiness, like the Limb Lifter album you guys just talked about. But the choruses are like, okay, we got to make this song memorable, so we're gonna smack you upside the head with this chorus that you're gonna sing for the next 2 days. And I like that stuff a lot. Although I do find this to be like last year with Death Ray. I think you guys both like that album too, and you like the production being kind of dry. I think you described it as, and this production is like, I think this is really good production. I like the sound of the guitars. They just like ring or something. I don't know what the guitars are, and the bass is solid. The drums, like Jay pointed out, are really good. Again, if you're a lyrics person, I mean, the lyrics are strange. I don't necessarily pretend to understand what they're singing about half the time, but Yeah, I really like it. It's really been a grower. I listened to it a lot, like in the aughts early, when I was listening to a lot of finding a lot of this stuff, and then I picked it up again just as I was going through, bringing a lot of my old stuff out, and it's like, wow, this is really fun. So that's why I brought it out.
You didn't mention I Don't Mind, but I really like that song. It has Jellyfish vibes to
Mhm.
me with those falsettos
Oh yeah.
and that like kind of chunky halftime feel.
Pay no mind. You used to call me baby all the time. Then you call me Larry. Does she love you? I don't know. Does she need you? I couldn't tell you so. But I'm banging my head on a bedroom window. In my head, things are looking strange around my bed. Think I'm going crazy. Could be wrong. Love knows that I sang it from a song. We lived it straight from Ozzy. Does she love you? I don't know. Does she need you? I couldn't tell you so. But she's pushing me out of a bedroom window.
That song, again, it's like 2:19, such a short song, but it's very effective. They're not as, or as, I don't want to say orchestral as Jellyfish, but Jellyfish had like a bit more going on complexity wise. So it's cool that they do it on that kind of one song, and it's not like overwhelming where it's a clear like Jellyfish homage on this record. Jay, I just want to mention, when I heard the song Rose and Bloom, I immediately went back to when we were in a band and there was a gentleman whose last name was Rosenblum who we all disliked.
Okay.
Do you remember that gentleman? Mr. Jeff Rosenblum?
Vaguely. When you say went back, what do you mean?
I meant like mentally, I was like, Rosenblum.
Oh, okay.
Rosenblum. I've heard that name before. The guy we made a giant poster of his head and stuck it behind us when we played a gig because we disliked him so much and we knew he was going to show up, so it would piss him off.
Nice.
That Jeff Rosenblum.
That's sweet.
Yeah, we did that.
We
We were angry young men. We had some issues that we had to work out on stage. Anyway, diversion aside, I think when you're talking about the choruses and the hooks in comparison to Limb Lifter, to me it sounds like, especially with a song like Yes Yes Hey Hey, like it sounds like they started with the chorus. Like, I've got this cool chorus idea, let's build a song around it, as opposed to it felt like Limb Lifter was like, I've got a cool riff, let's write a song or some chord progression, and maybe that the chorus doesn't meet the expectation. Whereas these feel like a lot of chorus ideas. Not that the songs are bad, but just like, I've got a killer hook, I got to write a song around it.
Mhm.
I don't know if you got that impression either, Jay, but as well. But
I think yes, I would agree. That would make sense to me. You end up with, I think if you write that way, or able to write it that way, it's easier to write concise songs too. Right? Because you've already got the point of the song at the start, and then you're just figuring out, okay, how do we get there? What do we do in the middle? Right? I mean, everything just becomes easier. It's all about like, how fast can we get to it? How do we set it up? How do we carry it out at the end? Like, that would make a ton of sense. And these songs are very, compact, concise, to the point. So that would be consistent with, write the hook first and then put the minimal amount of information around it that you need to.
Right. Because if you're not starting with the hook, like that song starts with the hook, they're getting to it in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Or 40 seconds and stuff like that, which is, that's a power pop.
It's like practically every song in Cheap Trick's, what is that album? Oh, One on One. It's like, it starts with a verse, then it does the chorus, and then does the verse, then does the chorus. It's like starts with the chorus.
That's the Aerosmith method too. You start with the chorus.
Yeah, it's like, we're gonna catch you, so we're gonna hook you, and then we'll screw around in the verse and the bridge and all of that. But
yep.
That freaking song, that Yes Yes Hey Hey, is a weird song. Sorry, I mean, it's not. There's nobody that's gonna be like, oh, this is a power pop band, hey, listen to their first song. It's like, that's not. I mean, it's not. It's just. It's, I don't know what to call it.
Vocally, you can hear like, oh yeah, I could see where the power pop thing could come into play, but musically, Yeah, it's off kilter than what you would expect,
Mhm.
and that's what I enjoyed. That it just sounded original, right? That song in particular. And there's a couple others on the record where you're like, okay, this is a distinct thing. Like a lot of power pop bands can start to blend together, but there's a few moments on here where it's like, no, this band has a distinct sound.
Yeah,
We're-
pure power pop bands sound a lot alike. So when I say I like power pop, I usually like stuff that's got a lot heavier guitar and it's not so I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Everything sounds the same if you're
Mhm.
really into power pop and you're a real strict, kind of like everything sounds like the Monkees or something. I mean, it's not something that really is very attractive to me.
I just pulled up the album artwork, and the font that was chosen for the credits section is abysmal.
Oh,
It's
it's
like
horrible.
some retro font that's like super hard to read, and then it's the back of it's against pictures, which makes it even harder to read.
Yeah.
There's like there's too many fonts. I
And
mean,
it's
there's
like
that font.
the
There's a font
color
on
of
the
it's
yeah,
fuchsia.
it's fuchsia. There's like 3 different fonts on the CD itself. The back has a different font.
Yeah.
Stick with one font. One font.
There is a
Uno
line
font.
in here. There is a line in the back of the album cover that says, "Wunderband uses loud drums and loud guitars because they want the best." That's what it says. How about that?
It's like Tesla saying no machines were used in the making of this record.
Yeah, isn't that like a Kiss thing about, oh, that's you wanted the best, you got the best? That's
Yes, there you
probably
go.
not the same thing.
Jay, let's move on to
Tim.
our next section,
Oh yes.
known as what didn't work for you on this record.
Right. Well, so I'm hearing two singers, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them, the very deadpan delivery, uh, very dry, and with the dry production and sort of that deadpan delivery, you hear it on Mayqueen in the verses, and you hear it on Circle and Fall. Circle and Fall is probably the better example where it just doesn't sound connected to the band, both from a production standpoint and delivery standpoint. Um, it just lacks the emotion or any human element. It's just like singing like robot. Here is the melody, and then the band is off in a different space. The two don't. It's weird. Like they don't sound like they're playing together. So there's some, I think, delivery or stylistic choice with the one singer that isn't always working for me. And then there's some production issues that are making it or exasperating it, making it even worse. Um, I think the album doesn't end on a great note. I think Hint of Jealousy and Special to me sound like maybe them trying to write Weezer songs. It gets a little slow, a little overly cute and goofy. They're just not super compelling. They're forgettable songs to end the record on, and made me start to think of other bands of the time that they might be trying to like mimic or write like, which wasn't the way I wanted to leave the record when I had started it thinking, oh shit, this is a total like really unique take. It's very accessible, right? Very poppy, but also a unique take on this genre and what you can do with it. By the end of the record, I was like, oh, they're kind of just trying to write Weezer songs. So didn't love how the record ends with those two tracks. And I think my last criticism would just be, I think the bass on the record sounds great. I think the vocals can be okay. Sometimes, like I mentioned, are not good. The guitars in general are fine. The drums, though, are a bit flat. And I think
Yeah.
overall that it just could have a little bit more punch to it. I think if, I don't know, maybe there's something they could do in the EQ or something when they were recording the record. I don't know that it needs to be re-recorded, but there's something about the drums that are just not quite as dynamic as I would want to hear. They don't pop out in the mix. The bass saves it the a bit, and fills in the space between the guitars and the drums pretty well. So overall, I think sonically, when you put it on, it sounds good. But when I was really getting into the record, I was wanting those drums just to have a little bit more kick and punch to them.
I agree with you on the drums. Like the snare sounds like a little blocky, like a
Yeah.
little. And on I mentioned I Don't Mind earlier. It actually kind of disappears.
Yeah.
Because the guitar is kind of so big and chunky, playing lower chords, that it when he hits his chord, the snare drum just kind of is gone. So yeah, like a punchier sound in the drums would help. I think, and on Circle and Fall, you mentioned that one too. That was on my list. He almost sounds flat in parts of those songs because he's like singing with such that deadpan, low register that it comes across as sounding uninterested or flat, or I don't know what the problem is going on there.
I don't fly, I just circle and fall down, brush off the dust that is all around. But I still circle and fall down. There was a time and no one was around, and I couldn't get up. I was down and you were up. There wasn't much to drink inside my cup. Speaking of you, that doesn't mean a lot. Art is good, but things were bad. I can't recall a single thing we had. I don't fly, I just circle and fall down, brush off the dust that is all around. But I still circle and fall down. There was a time that no one was around, and I couldn't get up. Well, I just circle and fall down.
Which is interesting because he also wrote the first track, Robert Finelli, which I think is one of the coolest songs. But it also is, I understand what you're saying. Like his vocal is not quite as poppy as Kyle Kelso's.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that works on when it's up tempo, like on Yes, Yes, Hey, Hey, it's okay. It's almost
more of a shout than a sing. Not a shout, but it's not really singing. It's more like just hey,
exactly.
I can do that even.
That sort of staccato delivery works okay, as opposed to long drawn out notes, and that's when it starts to sound a little less on point. And I agree with you. Ending the record on 2 slow songs for this type of record is not what I would do. I realize it's a short record. I mean, it's only 34 minutes, 34 and a half minutes. So to cut any songs, I mean, you're already pretty short to begin with. So I don't know if it's a matter of just rearranging stuff. I don't love. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple songs I don't love, but I like them better up tempo. Let's just put it that way. That's where my sweet spot is for the band. What about you, Whitney? Is there stuff that I know you mentioned maybe there was one song that you didn't care for? Is there any nitpicking?
So a little bit. So with Jay, he mentioned Hint of Jealousy and Special, and you said also that there were 2 slow songs to end the record. And if Jay said it felt like Hint of Jealousy and Special, which are the last 2 songs, kind of try to be a little Weezery. Hint of Jealousy is definitely sounds like Rivers Cuomo, which I mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
Special, I said also earlier that I would have taken that song and moved it somewhere up the mix a little bit because I think it's a good song, and the chorus and everything, the way the verse leads, I think that's a good song, but it just doesn't need to be coupled with that other slow song in the end of the album. So I would probably rearrange that a bit, but I think both of those songs are okay. They just could maybe fall somewhere else in the playlist, right? Circle and Fall, it's not a good song. It sounds horrible. I mean, not production wise either. It's just not, for all the points you guys already mentioned, and I won't rehash them. It's a skip for me. It's the only one I skip by. Otherwise, everything is just ear candy to me, right? I would say I'm with you on the vocals a bit, especially the one guy. The vocals don't stray for him too far from what my wife likes to call Weird Al vocals, right? She always says, "How come everybody you listen to sounds like Weird Al Yankovic?" I'm like, what are you talking about?
I never thought of that. That's
because she listens to. My wife is really she's very impressed by people with tremendous vocals and stuff, and I'm like, if I don't have a song, I'm a hook. I don't give a crap about vocals, right?
Right.
Lyrically, I don't know what the songs are about most of the time. The band members seem a little old from the grainy album cover to be like so obsessed with school. That's a little creepy, but I don't know enough about what they're singing about to know if it's really creepy. I don't know. So whatever. I just let the lyrics go in one ear and out the other and just kind of sing along with the stuff that fits in with the songs, like yes, yes, hey, hey. It's like just like look like the girl sang for Till Tuesday, right? I mean, how can you not want to sing along with that?
He even
Yeah,
drops voices carry.
Yeah.
Oh, he drops voices carry
Yeah.
in that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
some little clever turn of
Yeah.
phrase.
You
But
have
yeah,
a video. You get Aimee Mann to guest star in the video. Come on.
It would be awesome. It
Yeah.
was an opportunity missed because she was like every
Or
grunge guy's
here's the
dream
other
or
pitch
something.
I would do. It's a video of him like walking into places like coffee shops, and he keeps seeing like a big blonde poofy hairdo, but it's a different chick each time.
Yeah.
And then like the last time he doesn't go in, it's actually Aimee Mann standing there.
Tim, music video production. You missed
See?
it. You missed your chance. I don't know
Move
what.
over, Spike Jones.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, exactly. But that's about it for me. I mean, I thought about picking something, different. But this is just interesting stuff to talk about. I like pulling up albums that nobody's really heard that I think are good records, good, well-produced, talented musicians, good songwriters, whatever. I mean, so, give it a chance. I could listen to Shine or Starless next year, I suppose, or something.
Sure.
Which is one I keep threatening because I love that record so much. But anyway.
Well, what year did that come out?
2000. It's like the only thing that isn't streaming. It's so weird.
Well,
it's like
you have to suggest that now for our 2000s episode because we are revoking the 2000 rule.
Oh, I left that list on Discord of about 50 of them.
Yes,
Starless was in there.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't make this. I'm making this official now. The Marvelous 3 2000 rule is hereby revoked since we're doing aux records.
We need
Sometimes
to make
you got to make the call when you're running the shows. You guys, you
Right.
got to make the rules.
There
And
it is.
people got to
There's
obey them.
the declaration.
Glad I was here for it.
Let's
Don't get in trouble for picking one later.
Let's get into our overall ratings, Jay, for this, because I'm not going to say why wasn't this more popular because Jesus Christ didn't come out on it. They just pressed a few and gave them to their friends. Apparently, I don't know where I don't know where you got this record. I don't even know where they're from.
Yeah,
but I'm totally agree with the timing wise. This is the kind of stuff that was, having hits like Presidents of the USA and even
Crash Test Dummies.
No. The band we talked about earlier that they sound like
Jellyfish.
No, Fountains of Wayne.
Oh yeah.
Even if you think about like their main, their biggest hit, Stacy's Mom, that lyric is exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
So,
by the way,
why? It's more of a question of like not why wasn't it big, but like why didn't a label pick this up?
Right. There was somebody made a video on TikTok using the music of Stacy's Mom, but basically chastising Stacy's mom for going after young boys. Like how inappropriate was that?
Right. Oh yeah.
Like that totally would not fly.
No.
That's
not cool.
Not cool, Stacy's mom. All right. Overall ratings for this record. We'll share the Patreon poll results in just a minute. But Jay, where do you land? Worthy album, better EP, or decent single?
I'm gonna land at a worthy album. It's so short. It's so concise in the songwriting. I like that there's a couple, not huge left turns, but just enough to shake it up, make it original. And then it's very accessible. I mean, I think it's a very easy listen. Really, the end of the record, there's a skipper in the middle, and then the end of the record is a bit of a fizzle out. So, I could even see, just for me, maybe listen to track 10 and call it a day. And worthy album. I
agree with you. I would cut. I don't like Rosenblum because I have psychological issues connected to that name. Circle and Fall and Hint of Jealousy. I think Special, if it went after I Don't Mind, by itself, I think that would be okay. I think having 2 in a row is like sounds like it kind of drags at the end. But I would cut 3 songs, make it a 9-song album, which would make it like 25 minutes, but who cares? I mean, that's a very solid 25 minutes of music. So yeah, that's where I'm at, Whitney.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna cut Circle and Fallout, but I'm just gonna leave the rest. So I have 11 songs I would put in there, but I'd figure out something different to do with Hint of Jealousy and Special at the end, like you guys mentioned. So I would do something with that if I was the guy who was mixing the songs up. But other than that, yeah, it's a worthy album for me.
Well, our patrons in a close race agreed with us. Worthy album, 57% to 43% for better EP. And I could see like if you might want to pick 6 songs and pick the absolute best 6 songs from this record. I mean, that's reasonable. But I think this is a really interesting find, and I'm glad you brought it to us. That hey, yes, hey, hey. I actually keep a playlist by year on Spotify. So every time we review something, if it's on Spotify, I just dump it into that so that I can listen to that year. And yes, hey, hey is right now going into 1997.
Nice.
Actually, you're allowed 3 picks. So I'll be taking that song, Pinup, and I Don't Mind. So 1997, Say Hello to Wünderband. Germany's greatest power pop export.
Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that guitar solo in Wall of Dishes if you haven't paid attention to it yet. That is a killer little guitar solo.
It is.
Might be one of my favorites.
I'm with you. It's in my notes. It almost made me wonder if it was somebody else.
Yeah, it was.
It sounds
like,
very different. Like I'm like, did Brian May just drop into this record? What the hell just happened?
I have a couple guitars behind me that I can barely play, but would you say, is that a slide? Is that slide soloing they're doing in that? Do you remember? Yeah, God, because it just doesn't sound like, it sounds awesome.
It's harmonized. Anyway. I know. I'm not sure if it's a slide or not, but
I can hear the technique, and it could be slide.
Okay. Well, as long as you guys aren't sure, I hear that solo and I'm like, God, that's
is that a double
solo.
guitar, or is he using like an octaver pedal or something like that?
It could be a pedal, but it's not just the sound. It's like the composition of it even is very
guitarish. It's very guitar nerdy kind of. Yeah.
Yes.
16 has a decent solo on it, but it's not as good as that. I mean, I don't think any other solo really, they don't try many solos, I don't think.
Right. That sounds like a solo like by somebody who, a lot of this record, the solos sound like, okay, the guy who plays guitar played a solo. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like, oh, somebody came in and was like, I'm going to drop a killer solo on this song.
It's like when Steely Dan would bring in a guitar player to
Walter Becker or something.
Yeah,
right.
Wait, he was always with Steely Dan.
No, he was always with Steely Dan. No, they brought in like Skunk Baxter to play a.
Oh, that's it. Skunk
solo.
Baxter. He's the one. I'm sorry. I'm not a big Steely Dan guy.
Don't forget Skunk Baxter.
No.
Dude's a legend.
Sorry.
Whitney, thank you for bringing this record to us. This was such a, there's a billion records from the 90s. We definitely would not have found this on our own. So thank you.
Hey, I bragged on the Discord that I've only had one record on 6 tries where you guys haven't been unanimous with Worthy Album.
Oh.
And it was Human Radio. You guys split. Jay said better EP. Otherwise, I got Tim all 6 albums, which is my goal, is to keep capturing Tim. You guys.
I'm a sucker for the power pop, especially power pop with like a little twist. Like you give me some like twist on power pop. I'm there. Like make it a little heavier.
Make it a little more alt rocky.
Make it a little more alt rocky. Give it some weird percussion. Give me some, like just give me some curveballs.
I know we're done talking about this, but I just had a thought. Like that Wall of Dishes song too. We're talking about the solo. That song reminds me of Meat Puppets for some reason. So if you get a chance to listen to it again, it reminds me of a Meat Puppets song. Like Backwater. For some
because
reason,
of
it's
the
got
harmonies too,
probably.
with the Kirkwood brothers doing their harmonies.
I'm sure
And
that's
I
why.
think that's why in some of the songs that Robert Finelli sings, like Another Guy, there's so much harmonizing in that song that it doesn't bring his vocal issue with Returns to being like a little less
Mhm.
interesting. That's why it works. But there you go. Wunderband, Wonderband, the soul album from the band from 1997. If you can find their mp3.com EP, good luck.
I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna go looking.
So this is on Spotify. It's on YouTube. You can listen to this record fairly easily. If you're like me on Apple Music, you're screwed. But hey,
So just so you know, Whitney, on Discogs, only one person has that EP.
Oh, nice.
remember the band?
I don't know who it is, but yeah, it's probably a member of the band, to be quite honest.
I mean, I had to do a lot of work on their Discogs for this album, so Jesus, I hope I get some kind of residual or something for that one copy.
That sweet Discog money.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first time. I've done a little more Discog editing too on some other things, but I'm not nerdy about it if I pick the wrong. If it's not the right variant, if it's not variant 86, I'm not going to sweat it.
Right. Well, thank you again for bringing this record. And I want to remind the folks that are listening at home or in their car or on the subway or in a plane, perhaps a bike,
In a box with a fox.
in a box with a fox with a bag of rocks.
As,
Wherever you are, however you're listening, you can also pick a record by joining us. I think we're really close to filling up. I think we might have like one spot left. If you want to suggest a record, you join us at the board of directors level, and you're suggesting a record. And you can also suggest albums at digmeoutpodcast.com, where our patrons vote. Every month we have our tournament, 27 albums, enter the cage, they battle it out, and then there's one victor at the end of each month. And that happens with our poll voting, which happens with the episodes. It happens with our roundtables. It's also where you can read the box newsletter at Patreon, and you can sign up for it at the podcast. The box newsletter comes out every week. New releases from the 80s, 90s, and now the aughts. Music, movies, books, TV shows, documentaries, all those kinds of things. You'll find it in the box newsletter. 2 new reviews of new releases. And Apple Podcasts is the last thing. That's where you go to leave positive feedback about this thing we do every week. That we went from Soundgarden to Wünderband.
Love it.
That's the scope.
What we're about, man.
That's the scope of this podcast. I wonder what will be next. I guess you'll have to tune in to find out.
Dying to find out.
On the next episode of Dig Me Out. I wish I could do that. I wish I could tease the next episode with like a clip where it's like, where Jay's like, Tim, you son of a bitch. And then it just cuts off. We should start doing that. We should start creating fake on the next episode clips of us fighting. And then when we cut to it, it's never there. And people are like, well, what happened to the fight? We're like, well, we cut it in editing. It didn't fit the flow of the episode.
Right.
So we had to cut it.
I'll start a rumor and say Tim and G are breaking up.
Yeah. We have to get some tabloid material going.
Yes, exactly.
Some beefs.
We don't have any beefs. We need beefs.
I know. Apparently, you need to have them. I think that's
how you get the people.
really
interested.
how you get to the next level. Gotta get a little
Conflict
kayfabe going on.
We got a Jan Wenner. We're coming for you. Coming for you, Jan Wenner. You can't handle the heat that's coming down.
It's my theory at this point is it's all just professional wrestling. So you basically just take that archetype, and that's exactly what you got to do.
You're right.
So,
All right. Thanks again, Whitney, for spending your evening with us.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
And that's it for Jay. I'm Tim. We're out, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Dig Me Out.
Another guy. You always cared for another guy. You always cared